Becky here and welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well, and today I'm coming to you with another book recommendation video because I was standing in front of my library the other day and I realized that there are some books I would really like to talk about, and they all have something in common, even though they are from different authors and places. Some of them are newer, some of them are older, but one thing they have in common is that they talk about theme of loneliness or solitude, but they really do it in a beautiful way. So I decided that I would like to talk about them, and please let me know in the comments if you read any of these books, because I think that some of these books are not talked about that much on the booktube or in general. So let me know if you read any of these, and I left my most favorite to the end, so I'm very excited. Hopefully you will enjoy. So the first book I'm going to be talking about is this one, called Samota by Natalio Grueso. Samota means loneliness in English, and I believe that the original title is La Soledad, but I cannot speak Spanish, so I'm sorry. This is the first book the author published in 2014, because before that he was working in completely different field than writing. So being in the first book, I must say I really did enjoy it, and it's a little bit difficult to say what exactly is this book about, because as you can guess, theme of loneliness and solitude is something that is there, but this book contains 12 shorter stories which are connected with this theme of loneliness. You have different places there and different characters. For example, there is a thief called Bruno who prescribes books for people. There is beautiful Japanese woman who is in Venice, and there is also a character of dream hunter, you could say. I read this in Czech, so I'm not quite sure what would be the translations in English, but I really did enjoy it, and this story takes you to Venice, to Baghdad, to Shanghai. So as the cover suggests, there's gonna be a lot of places and a lot of traveling, and I really do like this because I personally really like stories which are somehow connected, and sometimes in these books it's really obvious and quite easy to find the connection between these stories, but sometimes they are hidden a little bit deeper. So that's why I would recommend you to read this book, if not in one sitting, then definitely in a shorter period of time, so you won't miss the connections. And even though I read this book in translation, I think it's obvious that the author is very talented when it comes to playing with words and constructing sentences, because it was written very beautifully. And also what I like about this book is that despite the fact that obviously one thing all these stories has in common is loneliness and solitude and feeling lonely and being on your own, it's not talking about these things in a depressive way, but rather in a poetic, almost like an artsy way, and how you can, for example, go on the self-discovery journey through these feelings. So it's really something I would recommend you to read. And also I really do like the cover. I came across the opinions that some people did not like the cover at all, but I really love it. I mean, I think it's really cute. So if you like books about many characters and different places and then stories which are connected somehow, which is something I really love, definitely recommend you to read this one. So the book number 2 I'm going to be talking about is this one, called Na konci samoty by Benedict Wells. The English title is, I believe, The End of Loneliness. This is the fourth book the author published, and in 2016 it won the EU Book Prize, I believe. And I must say I really did enjoy it, but it's quite different from the previous book I've been just talking about, because this is one cohesive story with two main characters. And one of them is Jules, a young boy whose life is shattered when his parents die accidentally and very suddenly. And with his two siblings, he is sent to boarding school where they all deal with the loss differently and on their own, and they kind of drift apart. And Jules starts to really close himself from the world. He lives mostly in the past and memories until the point he meets Alva, who is a very lovely girl, but she also carries a lot of pain and damage from the past. And their relationship starts to develop slowly. First it's friendship, then a little bit romantic relationship, until they will separate for, I think it was 15 years. And during that time, Jules becomes an aspiring artist and writer, yes, he becomes aspiring writer, and he also tries to put together the family, or at least what is left from her, and start the relationship with his siblings again. And that's about the time when he meets Alva, but because they both carry so much pain and damage from the past, it is questionable how their relationship is going to develop in the future. So that's the story. I must say I did enjoy it, even though, as I said, it's a little bit different from the previous book, because while the previous book is talking about loneliness in sort of like positive way, as I mentioned, this is not. This is a book which makes you emotional if you are like me. It's realistic, it's melancholic, it's sad, and it's lonely. So couple tears been shed when I was reading it, and also opposed to previous book is written differently. I feel like sentences here are constructed very simply, but still it's quite enjoyable. And what I like about this book is also all the themes it deals with. So for example, different forms of love, not only romantic love, but also love between siblings, between parents, between friends. And other themes would be searching for answers, searching for oneself, dealing with trauma. Does the future matter? Does the past matter? So all these interesting things you have to think about after finishing this book. But I would say that from little research which I found, I feel like people have love or hate relationship with this book, because some people say that it's written too simply and also that it's quite cliche. For me, it wasn't cliche because I am quite a romantic soul, but I do understand that the line between being sentimental and romantic and cliche is a little bit thin in this book, but for me it was still manageable. But also it was a little bit predictable for me towards the end. So, general, I did enjoy this book. If you're looking for something where are strong people's stories and dealing with these sort of themes, as I just mentioned, definitely recommend you to read. I'm not a huge fan of the cover, I must say, but it's pinkish, so okay, I can close my eyes with it. And yeah, definitely recommend you to read it. I am about to read another books from Benedict Wells as well, because I think he's really talented, so maybe that's something you can read as well. The third book I'm going to be talking about now is probably the most famous one from this little pile I have here, but I still would like to talk about it because I enjoy reading it very much. The author of the book is Paolo Giordano and the title is The Solitude of Prime Numbers. I did enjoy reading this book. It's very similar in a way to the previous book I just mentioned, because we also have two main characters here, Alice and Mattia, and they both carry quite a lot of pain and struggles and hardship from their past, and they try to navigate through life with them. And they met as a teenagers, but then their lives go separated ways when Mattia, who is very gifted and talented mathematician, accepts a researcher position, and that takes him miles away from Alice. What I really like about this book is that it really makes you think about different decisions we do in life, because sometimes we do decisions and we don't really think about consequences, or we think that they are not that significant or that important, but they are. And same as in this book, Mattia made a decision that he did not want to take his mentally ill sister to a friend's birthday party. Same as Alice, she decided that she does not want to become a ski champion, but this decision affected their life for the future completely. So that's really something that it makes you think about. And also it's very good to think about the relationship between parents and how the behavior parents have towards their children affects the children and their thinking and their decision making. So it's really interesting. One thing I would like to point out, like trigger warnings, again speaks about loneliness and solitude, but also about mental illness and eating disorder and death. So it's quite a heavy read, but still written in a beautiful way. It's a little bit simply written, same as the previous book. The sentences are quite simply constructed, I would say, like there is no wasting of space or anything, but still I did like it. It's sort of like minimalist style for this book. One thing I would maybe like more about this book is that if that theory of prime numbers would be mentioned a little bit more in this, because I think there was just one scene when Mattia explained the whole idea of these prime numbers regarding this book, but it was probably the only time. So I do get it, but I still would like if that would be mentioned there maybe a little bit more and it would pop out even more, because I think that this book is definitely having the greatest title regarding the book and the content of the book, so definitely something I would recommend you to read it. I know there is also a film, but I had not seen it yet, so that's something I would really like to do as well. And finally, the book I've been the most excited about, which is this one, The Peculiar Life of a Lonely Postman by Dennis. I don't dare to pronounce the name, I'm sorry, but this book, guys, is so beautiful. If you haven't read it, please do, because it's like gentle touch for the soul. It's so beautifully written. The main character here is Bilodo, who works as a postman, and his life is quite lonely and filled with only the postal routine, and that's pretty much it. But he's quite different from other postmen because he does open letters, which is something he should not do, but he does it and he reads the letters. And one day he comes across letters which two people, Ségolène and Gaston, are sending to each other, but these letters are written entirely in haiku, just 3 lines, and they are so beautiful that Bilodo falls in love with Ségolène because of these letters, but obviously she has no idea that someone like him even exists, and there is nothing he can do about it until one day he witnesses a terrible tragedy, because when Gaston goes to send another letter to Ségolène, he gets hit by a car and he dies on the spot. And that's the moment when Bilodo does absolutely crazy decision of impersonating Gaston, and he keeps continue writing letters to Ségolène in haiku, who has no idea that something like this happened. So it's, oh my gosh, it's absolutely amazing idea for the story and I love it. And the fact that it's written in haiku, it's even better because wow. An interesting thing is that the author wrote this book first as a prose, but then he decided that it would be better if the letters between, or the conversation between Ségolène and first Gaston and then Bilodeau would be written in haiku. So that's something the author had to learn to do himself. And you can also see the progress Bilodeau made when it comes to writing haiku, that it was sort of the progress of the author too. So it's something very interesting. And I really did like the character of Bilodeau, even though normally it's just something I would like, how can you do this, go away, I hate you, but I just really enjoyed reading about him. And also just please cover of this book, like look at this, it looks like a letter and you can put the whole book into it and it's just so beautiful. Like everything about this book, from the story and the way it was executed until the cover of the book, is just absolutely amazing and I really love it. So please give it a go, because yeah, you won't regret. And you don't need to know anything about poetry or haiku or anything like this to understand this, and it made me interested more in the poetry, which is something I never was before, but I do love it. And I read this book twice already. First time it was a couple years ago, I think this was published in 2014, so I did read it a couple years ago, but then also I reread it in one of my videos which I did read with me, so you can find it there as well, and I just love this book, so please give it a go, it's absolutely great. Okay, so I think that these are all the books I wanted to talk about right now with you, and please let me know if you read any of these books or if you have a recommendation for other books regarding this topic, because obviously for some reason I do enjoy reading those books. It was quite funny, like I was standing in front of my library and I just felt like in A Beautiful Mind. If you've seen the film, just like the titles were popping up to me even though they were on a different places in my library, so that was interesting and I decided I'm gonna make a video out of it. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you read any of these books and which one was your favorite, and I will see you with another video very soon. Take care, bye!